What's up? It's Andy, and we're in the middle of winter, just in case you didn't notice. You don't have to go outside. All you got to do is watch some of those wild card games last weekend, and you saw Patrick Mahomes' helmet just crack on the middle of the field. But it could be a lot worse. I'll tell you that right now, it could be worse, because right now we're in the middle of January. Guess what we got this weekend? We got divisional games, we got divisional bets, but in 1 month from now, we got the same miserable weather, but we're in the middle of February. The winter is just, forget about that whole Groundhog 6, all that's a scam. It's opening day at Yankee Stadium, and there's still snow coming down. So right now, weirdly enough, is a pretty good time of the year. Why? Because I look right past that Super Bowl, and that's a pretty depressing time of year. But not for any of you people. You guys are betting Indian cricket at like 3 in the morning on a Wednesday. Nothing matters to any of you. But for you Dans out there, you regular folk, we're looking at a pretty rough stretch once the Super Bowl ends, but we're not there yet. We got to enjoy the ride, and we got a couple games here for the divisional round of the playoffs. Now, what I'm going to do, it's going to be in jumbled order. I'm going to start with games that I want to talk about the most, and then we'll end at the one I want to talk about the least or / have the fewest picks for. So I'm going to start with a team who, I swear to you, maybe they didn't treat Buffalo fans well earlier in the year, but they treated us well all year long, because even early in the year, we were heavy on them. The first Gabe Davis International, like it's going to be a yearly golf tournament. It started on that home game against Miami where everyone went over. Then we had that game against the Bucks, the primetime game. Last week with Kincaid. So many games that they've treated us well. And I kind of think I'm going to lean in that direction again. I want to take the Buffalo Bills to advance. I don't really know if that's a chalky opinion or not, but they got one of those mojos. And you've seen this many times in the last 15, 20 years. I can't think about it more recently, but like when a team goes on a steamroll towards the end of the year. But I know when the Packers won the Super Bowl, and like when the Ravens and Flacco won the Super Bowl, and when you get on that run at the end of the year and things just seem to break for you, you play with that invincibility cloak. And you got Mahomes going to Buffalo. I teased this last week, but we need to see him play in Buffalo. They did a great job at home against the Hawaiian on a freezing cold day. But now you got miserable freezing cold fans and more miserable freezing cold fans. So it's not like the environment in terms of the temperatures going to do anything for the Chiefs. But this game being in Buffalo. And you could simply say, what do you mean? Burrow went in there last year, threw the ball all over them in the snow. I guess, yes, that is true. But those Buffalo Bills were flopping toward the playoffs, opposed to these Buffalo Bills who did the polar opposite of last year's Bills. Last year's Bills, Super Bowl favorite, came out routing everyone, and they were floundering as the year ended. And then that first playoff game, they almost lost to Miami, interestingly enough, without Tua. Allen was throwing picks all over the place. I'm going to take a -2.5. However, I got a suspicion this game might end on like a last-second field goal win by 1. Like 31-30, some wackiness like that. But I'm going to take Buffalo -2.5. It's a good number for me. So outside of that, I told you last week, there was one player on the Bills who's a cut above everyone else other than Diggs, and that's Dalton Kincaid. I'm looking at the Chiefs' defense, and they're almost always able to lock up number 1 wide receivers. You saw it with Tyreek Hill last week. They've done a great job on Diggs. They did a great job on Diggs when they played in Kansas City. I'm seeing, once again, more opportunities for Dalton Kincaid. And yeah, huge performance, so we got to eat a higher line. But it ain't a line that scares me all that much. I'm not thrilled about having to go up 5 yards, but not only am I going to take the over on him again, I'm going to take the alt over, like the slight bump it up alt over to get Dalton Kincaid at plus money when we build a little same game parlay, as the Pirates say. And then lastly, I will go back to Diggs. Diggs was shut down in Kansas City. I want him once again to go over his 5.5 catches. They throw these little dinky ones to him like for 4 yards where he's just 4 yards, turn around, catch it, go down. I don't know the final status of Gabe Davis, but he's off the menu. The Gabe Davis part of the year, that was like a seasonal cocktail. Not anymore. Definitely trust Kincaid, and I will take the over on receptions for Stephon Diggs, and I'll also take the over on rushing yards for Patrick Mahomes. I think he's going to have to wheel and deal a little bit out there. Crazy crowd. I feel like that line's going to be able to get to him, and he's going to have to buy some time. And I think that means he's going to run a little bit here, run a little bit there. Relatively high total, but I think he's going to have to do a decent amount of running in this game. So give me the over on Patrick Mahomes rushing total. And that's what I got for you there. We want to make a same game parlay. Let's take the Bills money line with the alt on Dalton Kincaid and the over on receptions for Stephon Diggs. I'll leave it up to you if you want to put the Mahomes rushing. I know you guys. As soon as you heard that it's up to you guys, now it's already in there. So go ahead and enjoy those extra odds with the Mahomes rushing yards. So then moving on from there, a guy that I've had many good times with this year. That doesn't sound good, but Shanahan. I feel like when there's a Shanahan game, people come to my videos because we've had so many good days with Shanahan. As far as last week goes, I just do want to say this. I had people on my Patreon actually disappointed that I took the under on Aaron Jones. It's not that I dislike Aaron Jones whatsoever. He's a dynamic runner. He's a great runner. But that was contingent on the Packers being up. Kudos to the Packers. They went up. They kicked their ass. But if they were down 10 points, they weren't just going to keep running the ball. And I'm sorry, Packers fans. I think Aaron Jones is awesome. I really do. But in order for him to hit his over, they're going to have to play from ahead. I don't think they're playing from ahead in this game against San Francisco. If they get me twice, and Green Bay, and you know, they do have the feel of one of those teams. Look at us. But this is a whole different ball game. A rested San Francisco defense. And I just can't get that vision out of my head from a couple of years back of Shanahan running all over Green Bay. I'm not talking about the one in Green Bay. I'm talking about like the Raheem Mostert 240 rushing yards. And that's exactly why I want the over on rushing attempts for Christian McCaffrey. He's supposedly fully healthy, fully practicing, had multiple weeks to rest that little issue that popped up for him week 17. I'm going to take the over on I think it's 17 and a half. I have to imagine he's going over with how much they run the ball. And yes, deep in the game, if they are destroying them, they will roll out, the Eli Mitchells and the Masons and whatnot. But I like the over on rushing attempts for Christian McCaffrey. I also like the touchdown for Deebo Samuel. Whether they run one of those reverses on the goal line, they give him so many opportunities. He also has the opportunity to take one the distance. So I like the touchdown for Deebo Samuel. And I like the over on rushing attempts for Jordan Love. It's actually pretty low, and if you take the over, it's at plus money. I think these Niners are going to be all over him, and he's going to have to run a little bit just to escape the pressure, buy a little time. I don't think he's going to be able to sit back there all game like he was against the Cowboys. Cowboys got nothing going, and I think he's going to have to scramble a little bit, so I'll take the over on Jordan Love rushing attempts. Then we got the Lions and the Bucs. Hey, Baker, you got me. If you watched that game, you saw Mike Evans almost come through on multiple downfield opportunities. Well, he's got a better opportunity this week. I mean, it's hard to get a better opportunity than against the Eagles secondary, but as Puka Nacua showed you last week, there's another burnable one, and that's in Detroit, indoors, unlike that reporter suggested. But I want to go over on the Mike Evans receiving yards. I will creep that up a little bit as well. And I like the Detroit Lions to win this game. That's not some crazy prediction. And then in the last game, I saw a stat about Lamar Jackson as a big favorite, and they certainly are a big favorite. It's a huge spread. I think I want to go with Houston by the points in the first half. Here's why. Many times you see teams who have the bye have kind of a slow first half. Now, it's not all the time. Many times, like Patrick Mahomes will have the bye, and then he'll come out and just throw for 6 touchdowns or something like that. But the Ravens, they sat everyone the final week of the year. Then they had the bye. So you're talking about not playing for 3 weeks. it's fair to think they may be a little rusty. And then meanwhile, you have Houston playing for their life every week. So you take somebody who's been in playoff mode for 4 to 5 weeks against a team who hasn't played a meaningful game since that San Francisco one, or the Miami one the following week, and then just nothing since then. I think maybe a slow start to get to them. So I'm going to take the Texans by the points in the first half. And then lastly, I'll leave you with a little Area 51 play that I happen to agree with, and that's the over on Zay Flowers receiving yards. He's coming into this game fully healthy. We know how often that Lamar looks for him. There's certain games he just goes off, and maybe Area 51 is able to kind of determine that with some of the, they use the defenses and matchups and how teams, deploy defenses against certain types of offenses. And they see something there. I tend to agree with it. So I will go with that over on Zay Flowers receiving yards. And if you want more of those Area 51 bunker, odd shopper premium picks, you always have the link down in the description available to you. So if you want to sign up over there, I get a little credit for it. But that's how you can access all those types of bets if you so choose. All right, everyone. That's what I got for you here on this divisional round. Good luck to you. Better luck to me. Do me a favor and make sure you are subscribed here to my YouTube channel. Toss a like, comment with the other jackals, have yourself a good time down there. And then I will see you next week. If I have a great weekend, I'll come in gloating. And if not, I'll just pretend like, oh, it's a week later. I completely forgot about all that stuff. All right, I'll see you then. Have a good one.